Welcome to the jungle. I'm your host, Andy Garza, President and CEO of Big Guerrilla Sales and Marketing Training. Here in the Jungle podcast for all the hungry entrepreneurs, you'll hear firsthand experiences from business owners of how they overcame challenges on their road to success. Every week, we'll have a different business owner from every walk of life. If you want to learn more about guerrilla marketing, visit biggorillamarketing.com. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Big Guerrilla Marketing. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jungle for Hungry Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Andy Garza, and with me is my lovely co-host, Allison Anna. Good morning, Allison. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on here again.
Good. Good to see you. And we're going to be talking about, going to expound on some of the guerrilla marketing tactics that involve emotions and anchors. Now, I'm going to remind the audience of what anchors are. They're actually attachments that your brain has that attach to emotions, to different events in your life, or nostalgia, or pop culture, certain things that you've attached to that all it takes is a smell or a song or a sound or a image to trigger that anchor. And it has the same feeling you had when you first experienced this, and it could be 50 years ago or just 5 years ago. It brings back that memory. And that's a very powerful tool when you're talking guerrilla marketing tactics, because if you can accomplish tapping into those anchors and combine it with your company name, and it has to be appropriately, obviously, it's a powerful tool for people to remember your company. If they feel good, or if you've drummed up something that makes them feel good, and attach it to your name, it's so powerful that it's very effective. And I want to talk about that. The first one that comes to mind is the Budweiser commercial. Now, they used the tactic of tapping into an anchor that had a lot of common people experiencing the same thing, and it was 9/11. There are a lot of people, especially my age, that experienced what they felt when 9/11 happened. Well, they tapped into it in a commercial in such an effective, beautiful way, and not speaking a word. It was all about tapping into an anchor that they know everybody remembers. And it was their team of Clydesdales going into Central Park and looking up where the Twin Towers would have been, and then the horses all bowed in unison, as if, and they were trying to trigger the remembrance and the appreciation of what happened there. And all it said at the end was, "We'll never forget," and then the word Budweiser. So people attach the patriotism that took place back then and the emotion to the Budweiser name. It was very effective. They won awards on it. It was brought tears to a lot of people's eyes. It was that effective. That was one of my favorite ones that used tapping into anchors. And another one was is a very good one by Wrigley's Spearmint Gum. And what they did is they appealed to a lot of different age groups that, Wrigley's been around for 100 years, literally. And it doesn't matter what age group you all have a lot of common events in your life: your first date, your marriage, your first child being born, all these type things, the first real job you ever got. A lot of people, doesn't matter what your age, experience this. Whether you're 20 years old or 60 years old, you've had these events. Well, they tapped into it by using little depictions when a boy and a girl first met on their first date. The boy sketched it on the back of the gum wrapper, and then something else happened where they were married. He sketched that, and they had their first kid. He sketched that. It was remembering that time. It was very important, and they depicted it so well without saying a word in the whole commercial. A lot of people can relate to that. And it was just simply at the end, Wrigley Spearmint Gum.
I got a great example too. I just thought of, Andy. This is a brand new commercial that just came out for the Super Bowl this year, for State Farm. And so I don't know if many of the listeners here have seen it yet, but if not, you should go YouTube it. It's a very funny commercial. But they are playing on the entire commercial. They have Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's in a State Farm shirt, and they keep recording him like they are recording a movie. Okay, so they keep cutting the scenes because they're trying to teach him how to say, get to the chopper. And he keeps saying, get to the chopper, get to the chopper. And they're going, no, chopper. And they're getting all frustrated because then they show chopper. And so the whole time that movie line has resonated with so many people from Gen X, millennials, and those are the people that are homeowners. Their target market, likely the people that have cars and own homes, right? So that whole time they're playing on pop culture by playing on that, and I just thought that was a brilliant way because I remembered them, and that commercial's hilarious.
Yeah, and State Farm is known to use a few tactics of guerrilla marketing, and that's what I like about them. But that one, yeah, it's definitely a very effective one, and it just, you remember their name, and you just remember the how they played on Arnold's. Obviously he's from I think he's from Austria or something like that.
Yeah, but everybody loves Arnold.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone's gonna have good feelings about that too.
He has, the lines that are iconic lines. I like a Kindergarten Cop has a lot of lines that he does that is great. Yeah, great example of that. But the trick of using emotions and anchors is now for a quick break to thank our sponsors: Awaken Marketing, Awaken New Possibilities, Grinder Law Group, Small Business Showcase Magazine, celebrating the small business spirit, M&D Advertising, Creations Beyond Expectations, and Big Gorilla Sales and Marketing Training, bringing out your inner gorilla. The trick of using emotions and anchors is really comes down to the basic of tapping into different emotions that you can tie into your company name. And that's, I can't remind you enough that that's the whole purpose of marketing, is to get people to remember your company name. They may not need your service or product right now. 6 months from now, they may. And if they can remember, oh yeah, I'll go to them first, give them the first shot at whatever it is. That's the name of the game. And to use different tactics, tapping into emotions. Now, it goes back to what your brain is all about. The limbic cortex of your brain and the amygdala of the limbic cortex is one of the four parts of the limbic cortex of your brain, is the one that manages emotions. And the three emotions that are most often used is obviously happiness, sadness, and frustration. Most commercials will have, about 95% of all commercials will have one of those three or more to use in their angle of marketing and commercials and advertising, that type thing. But when you tap into the management part of your brain, it really sets off and resonates with a lot of people. And that's what people like. They want to feel that you solved a problem or made them feel good in some way. And some people understand that, and they can use different tactics to come across effectively. And the more effective you are, the better off your name brand is going to be. But I really study those, especially nostalgia. That's a good one too. I mean, when you can bring people back in time for just a moment and make them feel good about remembering that, and then attaching it to your name and what your product or service may do for them somehow. I see it, and I immediately think that person knows what they're doing marketing wise, that their marketing group. There's obviously some ones that don't understand completely guerrilla marketing tactics and how it actually works, and they miss the boat. They try, but they don't completely understand it, and they don't get it, and it's not effective. It's more of a I don't know, it looks like they cut corners and trying to get across what they're trying to get across, and it didn't resonate, and wasn't effective. I see that all the time too. But there are some good companies. Alice and I were talking about before that Target was a very good. They use a lot of pop culture in their marketing, and it goes with appealing to what's happening today, and using what happened yesteryear. Their target market is, and no pun intended, but their target market is the young, back to school, and what's happening in their lives and what they're faced with and what they're going to remember about their growing up years. They've tapped into that because and used some of the older pop culture, because they understand that the parents of those kids are from the 80s and 90s, and they're having right now their kids are 6, 7, 8 years old or so. So they're actually marketing to both the people they know who are going to buy the whatever the clothing lines or whatever, and then of course the kids, as like anything else, they're very powerful in letting their parents know what they want, and if you can appeal to them at the same time, you're batting 1,000 as far as marketing.
And then they also have I'm thinking of a bunch of new points here for Target, but they are appealing to the LGBTQ community by being, and they explicitly say that we're inclusive of all genders. We have separate restrooms, things like that, just to make people feel inclusive. And their marketing, they have everything rainbow. And then when you walk in the store, in the junior section specifically, I see this more, they have bright colors everywhere. And it does two things. It helps people resonate, but then also by having your product appeal in that way too, it helps people that are in the LGBT community to express themselves too. So all in all, you just feel really good, if you are a supporter of LGBTQ, or if just whatever front you're on, they're making a difference that way too. But they're just, I think that's very well played, because it also sets them apart from other companies who are like, we don't want to talk about that or touch it at all. So they're really doing a lot of stuff with the different markets that they're targeting too. And I see so many different things for Target that they're playing on.
It's a great point. Whether you agree with it or not, is you have to make your own decision, whether you're a small business owner, of what you are trying to appeal to. Target has chosen to appeal to that group. More power to them. If they're successful, that's their choice. You make your own choices of who you want to appeal to, and who you want to remember your name, basically, that you want to serve. Being all inclusive is a huge part of our culture right now, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. It's just there, and a lot of companies will say, okay, we'll be all inclusive too, but it's your choice, and no one's shoving it down your throat or anything like that. It's just, it's one of those pop culture things that are identifiable right now, that is there whether you like it or not. Really, it's not going to go away. So marketing is a funny thing that you can hit 1,000, you can hit a home run with some, and you do it the wrong way, and you can get yourself in trouble.
That's very true, because Target has also backed the teachers. They had this huge uproar. I don't have all the details about it, but basically the teachers were protesting for more pay. And Target appealed to people in support of that during that time. And then there was this huge red movement for teachers in general across the nation, and they dove right into that. So they're really diving into the big controversial events in our world right now today, and it goes right along with these anchors, and they're doing it really good, because I think they're making people feel good about it, and coming from an inclusive standpoint, not a hey, we believe this or believe that, just we support everyone that wants to do good. It feels like, at least when I see their marketing and see it. So yeah, they're playing that really well, but you can accidentally do it the wrong way if you're touching on those, depending on the events.
Yeah, it's important to know, without a doubt, the basics of knowing who your target market is. Because if you miss that and shove something down somebody's throat, it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
And we've seen countless examples of that. But people do make mistakes on their marketing plan. Just remember that you want to appeal to everybody you can that is in your demographic. It's not a good idea to come off as not inclusive for your demographic. That's just never a good idea, because you just want to be well liked by everybody, whether they use your product or not. But eventually if you do it right, they will use your product or service if you come off as being a positive. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm a big believer in being in positive marketing and nothing negative. And there's a few people who use negative statements or played off negativity that were successful. I only say that because years later they're still using the same marketing tactics, so I assume that they're hanging in there pretty good. But I don't recommend it. I recommend being positive, making people feel good about their situation if they get you involved somehow, your product or your service. So in that case. Well, we'll wrap that up right now. We could go on forever on that. I certainly appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next week. If you want to learn more about guerrilla marketing, visit biggorillamarketing.com. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Big Guerilla Marketing. To thank our sponsors: Awaken Marketing, Awaken New Possibilities, Grindr Law Group, Small Business Showcase Magazine, celebrating the small business spirit, M&D Advertising, Creations Beyond Expectations, and Big Guerilla Sales and Marketing Training, bringing out your inner gorilla.